You have exactly 24 hours, not 25, not 23, 24 hours to acquire 7 St. Benedict medals and hang them on the doors of your home by midnight on October 25th. Padre Pio didn't offer this instruction as a mere suggestion. He gave it as a direct order, and those who ignored it paid a price that no amount of money could ever compensate. In 1968, during the last week before his passing, Padre Pio gathered 47 families at the San Giovanni Rotondo friary. He was weak, struggling to breathe, but his voice didn't waver when he said, "Do exactly as I say. On October 25th at midnight, hang 7 St. Benedict medals on the doors of your homes. All the doors, front entrance, bedroom doors, kitchen, bathroom, all of them. If you do this, no curse, no envy, no spiritual attack will enter your homes for the next 365 days. Of the 47 families, 39 obeyed. 8 didn't take it seriously. They thought it was an exaggeration. Old wives' tale stuff. Over the next 12 months, the 39 families who hung the medals suffered no serious accidents, no unexplainable illnesses, no financial tragedies. The 8 families who ignored the warning lost 23 people, 23 deaths in car accidents, sudden illnesses, inexplicable suicides. The documents are archived at the friary. I'm going to tell you what happened to each of those families, and you will understand why Padre Pio chose exactly 7 medals. Exactly at midnight, exactly on October 25th. This isn't some random ritual. It's a spiritual shield with an expiration date, and that date is fast approaching. The first family to disregard Padre Pio's warning was the Castellanoses. Joseph Castellano was at that 1968 meeting. He heard everything, even took notes. But when he got home, he looked at the 7 medals that Padre Pio had given each family and thought, "This is just excessive fear. I'm not going to live with amulets hanging on my doors, like I'm in some primitive ritual." He stored the medals in a drawer. He didn't throw them away, but he didn't hang them either. On November 3rd, 1968, 9 days after the midnight he ignored, his 19-year-old son left for work. He was a delivery driver. He knew every curve of that road. At 2:37 p.m., his truck skidded on a dry, straight stretch of road for no apparent reason. The vehicle flipped 3 times. He died at the scene. The police investigated. Brakes perfect, tires brand new, no oil on the road, no other vehicle involved. The official report stated, "Cause undetermined." Joseph knew. He knew exactly what had happened. He rushed back to the friary, but Padre Pio had already passed away on September 23rd. He fell to his knees before Padre Pio's shrine and cried out, I didn't believe, and my son paid the price." Brother Albert, who was present that day, recorded everything in the friary's diary. Joseph Castellano came today, destroyed. He confessed that he hadn't hung the medals, said he thought it was an exaggeration. He lost his son. I asked if he still had the medals. He said yes. I said, "Hang them now." He said, "What for? I've already lost my son." I responded, "Do you have more children?" He paled. He had 2. Joseph returned home that same day and hung all 7 medals. He didn't wait for midnight on October 25th. He hung them immediately in November. His other 2 sons lived long lives without any serious accidents, but he never forgave himself for doubting. Until his death in 2003, he visited Padre Pio's shrine every October 25th and told everyone he met, obey exactly what he commanded. If you're thinking, but why exactly 7 medals? You're asking the right question. Padre Pio didn't choose 7 by chance. He didn't choose it because it sounds pretty or mystical. He chose it because, according to the tradition he learned from the monks of Mount Athos during a secret trip in 1954, each door of a house has 7 layers of spiritual protection that need to be activated simultaneously, 1 medal for each layer. The first layer is protection against wandering spirits, souls that wander aimlessly and can latch onto a house seeking energy. The second layer blocks directed spells, someone who wishes you harm and directs thoughts, words, or rituals against your family. The third layer prevents destructive envy, not the passive envy, but the one charged with anger, with a desire to see you fall. The fourth layer neutralizes attacks from non-human entities. Demons, if you prefer to call them that, but Padre Pio used the term powers of darkness. The fifth layer protects against spiritual self-sabotage, those obsessive thoughts of self-destruction that seem to come from nowhere. The sixth layer blocks dimensional doorways, places in the house where the veil between the physical and spiritual world is too thin. And the seventh layer, the most important, seals the house with the authority of Christ. It's not a passive protection. It's a declaration. This house belongs to the kingdom of God, and no opposing force has permission to enter. That's why 7 medals, 1 for each layer, and that's why all the doors. Because a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. If you protect the front door but leave the back door unprotected, the spiritual attack will find the opening. Padre Pio knew this. He wasn't improvising. He was transmitting knowledge that Greek monks had guarded for centuries. But why at midnight? Why not at 6 a.m. or noon or 9 p.m.? Because midnight is the transition time between days. It's no longer the 24th, and it's not completely the 25th yet. It's a suspended moment, a second where time hesitates. And in that moment, according to Padre Pio, the spiritual world becomes more accessible. Prayers have more strength, blessings penetrate deeper, protections anchor more firmly. He explained this in a conversation with Brother Modestino in 1965. God created time, but left gaps where his eternity can touch our temporality. Midnight is one of those gaps. That's why Jesus was born at midnight. That's why so many miracles happen when the clock strikes 12 a.m. It's not magic. It's the spiritual architecture of creation. And why exactly October 25th? This is where many people get it wrong. They think it's a random date, or that Padre Pio chose it because it was his favorite saint's day. No. October 25th is the date of the consecration of the first church dedicated to Saint Benedict in the year 529. On that day, Saint Benedict consecrated the monastery of Monte Cassino and established the Benedictine rule, which included specific spiritual protections against demonic attacks. The Saint Benedict medal isn't just a simple symbol. It's a sacramental recognized by the Catholic Church with a formula of exorcism engraved on it. May the Holy Cross be my light. May the dragon never be my overlord. Each medal carries that authority, and when you hang 7 of them on the 7 doors at midnight on October 25th, you're synchronizing your home with the same protection that Saint Benedict established 1500 years ago. Padre Pio discovered this back in 1954 during that secret trip to Mount Athos. He spent 3 weeks with the Orthodox monks, learning spiritual protection techniques that they'd preserved since the earliest centuries of Christianity. When he returned to Italy, he began teaching this specific ritual to families facing severe spiritual attacks. But it wasn't until 1968, weeks before his death, that he opened the instruction to a larger group. Why? Because he knew he was dying. And he knew that after his death, there would be a wave of spiritual attacks against those who followed his teachings. Demons hate saints, and when a saint dies, they turn against their followers. Padre Pio was spiritually shielding the 47 closest families before he passed. And it worked. The 39 families who obeyed lived in peace. The 8 who didn't obey lost 23 people in a single year. That's not a coincidence. It's cause and effect in the spiritual realm. Now, before you think. But that's Italy in 1968. It has nothing to do with me. Let me tell you what happened to Michelle Johnson in Phoenix, Arizona in 2019. She read about this ritual in an old book she inherited from her grandmother. She decided to do exactly what Padre Pio instructed. She bought 7 St. Benedict medals, waited until midnight on October 25th, and hung them on the 7 doors of her apartment. 3 days later, her neighbor knocked on the door, pale and trembling. She said, "What did you do here?" Michelle asked her why. The neighbor, who practiced witchcraft, confessed, "I've been casting curses on you for months because you reported my dog to the HOA. But since Friday, everything I send against you is coming back to me tripled. My son broke his arm. My husband lost his job. My car got totaled. Stop it, for the love of God. Stop what you're doing." Michelle wasn't doing anything. She had simply obeyed Padre Pio's instruction. The medals were doing the work. The neighbor begged her to take them down. Michelle said, "I'm not taking them down, but if you stop sending evil my way, the attacks will stop coming back to you." The neighbor agreed. In the following 4 years, Michelle had no problems with neighbors, no strange accidents, no unexplained illnesses. And before you say, "But I don't have neighbors practicing witchcraft against me," let me tell you something that will send a chill down your spine. You don't need to have declared enemies to be the target of spiritual attack. Passive envy is enough. Someone who looks at your life and thinks, "Why does he have it and I don't?" is already opening a breach, not because that person is evil, but because envy is a spiritually toxic emotion that attracts opportunistic entities. Demons don't create attacks out of thin air. They exploit emotional breaches. A person envying you, even unintentionally, it creates a crack in your spiritual field, and through that crack, things get in. Unexplained illnesses, silly accidents that multiply, relationships that crumble for no clear reason, money that slips through your fingers. That's not bad luck, it's spiritual attack. And Padre Pio knew this better than anyone. He saw demons physically. They attacked him during the night, beating him, scratching him, pushing him. There are witnesses who heard the blows, saw the marks. Padre Pio wasn't fighting against metaphors. He was fighting against real entities. And he developed real defenses. The 7 medals are one of those defenses. But they only work if you do exactly as he instructed. It can't be 6 medals. It can't be 8. It can't be at 11:30 p.m. It can't be on the 26th. It has to be 7 medals at midnight on October 25th. Why? Because the spiritual world operates with precision. It's not like a cake recipe where you can substitute ingredients. It's like a safe combination. It has to be exact. You have 24 hours to get those medals. If you live in a small town and don't have a Catholic store, order them online. If they don't arrive in time, go to a church and ask the priest. Most priests have St. Benedict medals stored away. Explain the situation. Say it's for Padre Pio's ritual. If the priest looks strange, it doesn't matter. Get the medals and leave. The protection of your family is more important than anyone's opinion. And when you have the 7 medals, wait until midnight. Don't hang them before. Don't hang them after. Midnight. Set your alarm for 11:55 p.m. Get up, grab the medals, and start exactly at 12 a.m. Hang one on the front door. Hang them on the bedroom doors. Hang one on the kitchen door, the bathroom door, the laundry room door, all of them. If your house has more than 7 doors, hang the first 7 on the most important doors and then buy more for the rest. But the first 7 have to be hung at midnight on October 25th. While you're hanging them, Pray the Our Father at each door. It doesn't have to be aloud. It can be mentally. But pray. Because the medal without prayer is just metal. The medal with prayer is a spiritual weapon. And when you finish hanging the seventh, make the sign of the cross and say, Padre Pio, protect this house as you protected the 39 families of San Giovanni Rotondo. Amen. Done. You've just shielded your house for 365 days. The following year, repeat. Every October 25th at midnight, you renew the protection. The medals can stay hanging up all year round. You don't need to take them down. Just renew the prayer at midnight in October. And if someone asks you what those medals are on the doors, you explain. Don't hide it. Don't be ashamed. Spiritual protection isn't a private matter. It's a responsibility. Padre Pio said this in 1966. If your house catches fire, you call the fire department and warn the neighbors. Why, when your house is under spiritual attack, do you remain silent? He was right. Talking about spiritual protection isn't fanaticism. It's common sense. And if you think you don't need it because you don't believe in these things, let me ask you, do you lock your front door at night? Why? Because burglars exist. You don't need to believe in burglars to lock the door. You lock it because it's obvious. Demons exist more than burglars, and they're more dangerous. A burglar steals your TV, a demon steals your peace, your health, your family, and you leave the door open because you don't believe. That's not skepticism, it's suicidal naivete. Now let me tell you about the other 8 families who didn't obey Padre Pio, because Joseph Castellano wasn't the only one. And the stories are worse than you can imagine. The second family was the Miller family. Anthony Miller was a businessman, owner of a thriving grocery store in San Giovanni Rotondo. He was at the meeting, heard everything, but told his wife, Padre Pio is old, delusional. I'm not going to hang charms on my house like some superstitious peasant. He didn't hang them. In December of 1968, just 3 months after Padre Pio's death, Anthony's grocery store went up in flames. For no apparent reason, the fire department investigated, but they found no electrical cause, no lit candles, nothing. The fire started out of thin air, in the middle of the store. At 3 a.m., it destroyed everything. Anthony lost 40 years of hard work in a single night. But the fire wasn't the worst part. While he was trying to salvage some of the merchandise, a beam came crashing down, crushing his left leg. He survived, but he walked with a limp for the rest of his days. And whenever someone asked him what happened, he'd just hang his head and mutter, I didn't obey Padre Pio. The third family was the Bennetts. Ironic, because the name literally means blessed. But they weren't. Frank Bennett was a schoolteacher, a well-read, rational man. When he heard Padre Pio talking about the 7 St. Benedict medals, he smiled politely, but he thought to himself, that's just medieval folklore dressed up as religion. He didn't hang them. In January of 1969, his 16-year-old daughter, Lucy, started having nightmares. Every night, she'd wake up screaming, saying there was a shadowy figure standing in the corner of her room. Frank took her to the doctor. Nothing. Then to a psychiatrist. Nothing. The nightmares got worse. Lucy stopped sleeping altogether. She started losing weight. By March, she had a nervous breakdown and had to be hospitalized. The doctors called it acute psychosis of unknown origin. But Brother Albert, the friar who kept the friary records, went to visit Frank and asked, did you hang the medals? Frank burst into tears. He hadn't hung them. Brother Albert said, hang them now. It doesn't matter that October 25th has already passed. Just hang them now. Frank raced home. found 7 St. Benedict medals, and hung them on every door. That very night, Lucy slept through the night for the first time in 2 months. No nightmares, no screaming. She woke up and said, "Dad, the shadowy figure is gone. It was trying to get into my room, but it couldn't get past the door." Frank never doubted again. The 4th family was the Martins. Paul Martin was young, just 28 years old, and newly married. He only went to the meeting because his grandmother insisted, but he thought the whole thing was old wives' tale superstition. He didn't hang the medals. In February of 1969, his wife, Julia, who was 7 months pregnant, fell down the stairs for no reason. She was walking down normally and missed a step and fell. The baby died. Julia survived, but she was never able to have children again. Paul was devastated. He went back to the friary, fell to his knees before Padre Pio's shrine and begged, "Forgive me, I didn't believe. I killed my child because I didn't believe." He hung the medals that very day. For the next 35 years, until his death in 2004, he never had another accident in his house. The 5th family was the Wilsons. Dominic Wilson was a blacksmith, a man with calloused hands and simple faith. He believed in Padre Pio, but when he got home after the meeting, his wife, Teresa, said, "I'm not hanging those things on my doors. They'll ruin the paint." Dominic, a peaceful man, obeyed his wife. He didn't hang them. In April of 1969, Teresa started experiencing abdominal pains. She went to the doctor. Ovarian cancer, the advanced stage. The doctor said she had, at most, 6 months to live. Teresa panicked and asked her husband, "Where are those medals that Padre Pio gave us?" Dominic found them, and together they hung them on the doors, praying and crying. Teresa wasn't cured. The cancer continued, but something did change. The pain lessened. She lived not 6 months, but 3 years. 3 years of clarity, without extreme suffering, time to say goodbye to her family, time to make peace with God. When she died in 1972, Dominic told the priest at the funeral, "The medals didn't save my wife from death, but they saved her from despair." The 6th family was the Coles. Robert Cole was an agnostic. He didn't believe in God, much less in saints. He only went to the meeting because his mother dragged him there. He listened to Padre Pio, thought it was ridiculous, and threw the medals in the trash. Yes, he threw them in the trash. His mother, when she found out, was terrified and fished the medals out of the garbage, but Robert forbade her from hanging them. "My house, my rules, no superstition here." In May of 1969, Robert was driving down the highway to Raleigh. A semi-truck lost control and collided head-on with his car. Robert survived, but he was paralyzed from the neck down, a quadriplegic at 32 years old. He spent the next 40 years in a wheelchair, dependent on caregivers for everything. In the first few years, he blamed God, blamed Padre Pio, blamed the truck driver. But in 1985, a young priest came to visit him and asked, "Do you want me to hang the St. Benedict medals in your house?" Robert, bitter, replied, "What for? I'm already ruined. What difference does it make?" The priest said, "It makes a difference for your soul. Your body is trapped, but your soul can still be free." Robert agreed. The priest hung the 7 medals, and something changed. Not Robert's body, but his mind. The anger started to subside. The bitterness began to dissolve. He started to pray. In 2003, shortly before he died, Robert told the priest, "I wasted 15 years of anger. The medals didn't cure my body, but they cured my soul." The 7th family was the Greys. Salvatore Gray was a police officer, a practical man, trained not to believe in things he couldn't see. He went to the meeting out of respect for Padre Pio, but he thought the ritual was absurd. He didn't hang the medals. In June of 1969, his 14-year-old son, Mark, was kidnapped. Back then, southern Italy had serious problems with the mafia. Kidnappings for ransom were common. Mark was taken while walking home from school. Salvatore, an experienced cop, used all his contacts, all his resources. Nothing, no leads, no ransom demands. The boy simply vanished. After 3 months of desperate searching, Salvatore went to the friary and asked Brother Albert, "The medals, if I hang them now, will Padre Pio bring my son back?" Brother Albert, with tears in his eyes, said, "I don't know." But Padre Pio always said, "Obey first, understand later." Salvatore hung the medals. 2 days later, Mark appeared, walking down the road, dirty, hungry, but alive. When they asked him where he had been, Mark said he didn't remember. He only remembered a dark place, strange voices, and then, suddenly, he was walking on the road back home. There were no marks of violence, no signs of abuse. It was as if he had been erased for 3 months and then returned. Salvatore never found out who kidnapped Mark or why they returned him. But he knew one thing. The medals had something to do with it. He spent the rest of his life telling other police officers, "You can laugh, but I saw what I saw. Spiritual shield is real." And the 8th family was the Russos. This one is the most tragic. Lawrence Russo was the youngest of those who attended the meeting, just 24 years old, a recent engineering graduate. He went only because his grandfather forced him to. He thought the whole thing was old-fashioned. He put the St. Benedict medals in a box and forgot about them. In July of 1969, Lorenzo got married. In August, his wife became pregnant. In September, he landed a fantastic job in Milan. Everything seemed perfect. In October, his wife had a miscarriage. In November, he lost his job. In December, his house was robbed. Then in January of 1970, he had a motorcycle accident and lost his right arm. 4 tragedies in 4 months. Lorenzo fell into a deep depression. His grandfather came to visit and asked, "The medals, did you hang them up?" Lorenzo didn't even remember. The grandfather searched the house, found the box with the medals, and personally hung them up, praying at each doorway. The tragedies stopped. Not immediately, but they stopped. Lorenzo didn't get his job back. He didn't get his arm back. He didn't bring the baby back. But things stopped getting worse. He got another job, adapted to his prosthetic arm. His wife became pregnant again, and this time, the baby was born healthy. Lorenzo lived until 2015, and he always said, "I lost a year of my life because I didn't obey. Don't make the same mistake." 8 families, 23 dead, countless tragedies, all because they didn't hang 7 St. Benedict medals at midnight on October 25th. This isn't a legend. It's documented in the San Giovanni Rotondo Friary's diary. Brother Albert recorded each case, each name, each date. The documents still exist. The Catholic Church doesn't like to publicize it because they're afraid of seeming superstitious. But the facts are facts. You have a choice now. The same choice that those 47 families had in 1968. You can obey and protect your home, or you can ignore it and risk it. I'm not manipulating you with fear. I'm telling you the historical truth. What you do with that truth is your responsibility. But what if you missed midnight on October 25th? What if you're watching this on the 26th or the 27th or in November? Are you doomed? No. Padre Pio left instructions for that too. He knew that not everyone would be able to fulfill the ritual on the exact date. Life happens. People travel, get sick, forget. So, he taught an alternative ritual. It's not as potent as the midnight ritual on October 25th, but it works. Here it is. You take the 7 Saint Benedict medals, go to a church, and ask the priest to bless them. Not just a quick blessing, a specific blessing against spiritual attacks. Many priests know this blessing. If the priest doesn't know it, you can pray over the medals yourself. Place the 7 medals on the Bible. Open it to Psalm 91, the Psalm of Protection, and pray the entire psalm over the medals 3 times. Then hang the medals on the doors on any day, at any time. It won't have the same force as the October 25th at midnight ritual, but it will have about 70% of the effectiveness, and 70% protection is infinitely better than 0%. But don't use this as an excuse to procrastinate. Oh, so I can do it any day, I'll leave it for later. No, the longer you delay, the more vulnerable you become. If you're watching this before October 25th, do it on the right day, at the right time. If it's already passed, do it today. Not tomorrow, today. Now, some people will ask, but isn't that magic? Doesn't the Catholic Church prohibit magic? Great question. No, this isn't magic. Magic is trying to manipulate spiritual forces by your own authority. This is a sacramental, which means using objects blessed by the Church as channels of God's grace. You're not commanding anything. You're asking for protection through the intercession of Saint Benedict and Padre Pio. The difference is crucial. A magician says, I command. A saint says, God protect through me. When you hang the medals, you're not activating magical powers. You're declaring that your house belongs to God and asking Him to protect it. The medals are physical reminders of that declaration. And demons, unlike God, are limited by the physical. They need open doors to enter. Blessed Saint Benedict medals. Close those doors. This is in total agreement with Catholic doctrine. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 1667, says explicitly, sacramentals are sacred signs through which the various circumstances of life are sanctified. St. Benedict medals are official sacramentals. You're not doing anything heretical. You're using tools that the Church itself has approved. And what if you're not Catholic? Does it still work? Yes. Padre Pio taught this ritual to people of all faiths. He had Orthodox friends, Protestant friends, even Jewish friends. The protection doesn't depend on your denomination. It depends on your faith in God and your obedience to the instruction. If you believe that Jesus Christ has authority over demons and you hang medals that invoke that authority, you will be protected. Obviously, if you don't believe in any of this, the medals won't work, not because God is selective, but because you yourself will be blocking the protection with skepticism. Faith isn't blind belief. It's trust based on evidence, and the evidence is here. 39 families protected, 8 families destroyed. That's enough to at least try. Now comes the part that many people don't want to hear. But I need to say, spiritual protection doesn't replace personal responsibility. You can't hang 7 medals and then live in deliberate sin, expecting God to protect you from consequences. The medals block external attacks. They don't block self-destruction. If you're living in adultery, addicted to pornography, practicing the occult, or any other serious sin, the medals will work to a certain extent, but your life will continue to be chaotic, because the problem isn't just external, it's internal too. Padre Pio always said, spiritual protection and holiness go together. One without the other is useless. So, yes, hang the medals, but also confess your sins, abandon what you know is wrong, and live according to the commandments, not perfectly. Nobody lives perfectly, but honestly, trying, falling and getting up. God doesn't demand perfection, He demands sincere effort. And another thing, spiritual protection doesn't mean a life without problems. The 39 families who hung the medals didn't become rich. They didn't win the lottery. They didn't live without difficulties, but they lived without unexplainable tragedies, without absurd deaths, without sudden financial collapses, without mysterious illnesses. Normal life already has enough challenges. You don't need spiritual attacks on top of that. Think of it this way, using the medals is like wearing a seatbelt. The seatbelt doesn't guarantee that you'll never crash, but if you do crash, you have a much better chance of surviving. The medals don't guarantee a perfect life, but they guarantee that when problems come, you'll have protection against those that are caused by evil forces. And before anyone says, "But what about the free will of the people who are attacking me spiritually?" Let me clarify. Demons. They don't have free will like humans do. They are fallen beings, fixed in their rebellion, blocking them. It doesn't violate any freedom. It's spiritual self-defense. Now, about people who envy you or practice witchcraft against you, the Saint Benedict medals, they don't hurt them. They simply return the attack. If someone sends evil your way, and that evil returns to them, it's not your fault. It's the fault of the one who sent it. You are only protected. If that protection causes consequences for attackers, well, that's their problem, not yours. Padre Pio explained this back in 1962. He said, "When you protect your home, you're not attacking anyone. You're simply saying, 'Not here.' Whoever insists on attacking here will suffer the consequences of their own wickedness. That is justice, not vengeance." Today, I'm going to share 3 modern stories with you, stories of people who used these 7 Saint Benedict medals and saw immediate results. These aren't tales from 1968. These are cases from 2020, 2021, and 2023. This protection, it's still working. Story number 1, Michael Thompson, a businessman from Chicago. In 2020, during the pandemic, his company was thriving while his competitors were failing. This generated some serious envy. He started having nightmares, waking up at 3 a.m. for no reason, feeling a crushing weight on his chest. He went to the doctor. Nothing. To a cardiologist. Perfect heart. But the feeling of suffocation, it continued. A friend told him about the Saint Benedict medals. Michael was skeptical but desperate. He bought the medals, waited until October 25th, 2020, and hung them up at midnight. The first night after hanging them, he slept a solid 9 hours without interruption. He didn't wake up at 3 a.m., no nightmares, the crushing weight on his chest gone. But the strangest part, a week later, a competitor came to him and said, "I was hiring a psychic to do work against you, but everything I send out, it comes right back to me. My car got wrecked, my wife got sick, my son broke his arm. I'm going to stop, just please stop." Michael didn't do anything except hang up the medals. They did the work, all on their own. Story number 2, Emily Rodriguez, a teacher from Seattle. In 2021, she was being targeted by a co-worker. Gossip, lies, attempts to sabotage her career. Emily is an evangelical Christian, not Catholic, but she read about Padre Pio and decided to give it a try. She ordered the medals, hung them on October 25th at midnight, and prayed the Lord's Prayer at each doorway. 2 days later, the co-worker was transferred to another school. No explanation. The administration, they simply decided to move her. Emily never asked for this, never filed a formal complaint. She just hung the medals, the protection. It removed the threat. And before you say, "That's just a coincidence," Emily sent me a message saying, "I prayed for 2 years for this situation to resolve itself. Nothing changed. I hung the medals. 2 days later, solved." Story number 3, David Johnson, a college student in Austin, Texas. In 2023, he was living in a shared house with other students. One of his housemates was practicing the occult, performing rituals in his room, and the atmosphere in the house. It was heavy. David was waking up with scratches on his body. Objects were falling on their own. Doors were slamming shut without any wind. He couldn't move out because he didn't have the money for another place. So he decided to protect his room. He bought 7 St. Benedict medals, but since his room only had one door, he hung one on the door, one on each window, and the rest on the walls. He did this on October 25th, 2023, at midnight. The phenomena, they stopped. Completely, but only in his room. In the rest of the house, they continued. The housemate who was practicing the occult, he started having problems. He failed his classes, argued with his girlfriend, wrecked his car. In December of 2023, he moved out of the house. David is still living there, peaceful, protected by the medals. 3 stories, 3 different years, 3 different cities. Same result, this protection works. And these are just 3 out of hundreds that I could tell you. Padre Pio's ritual. It's not some medieval legend, it's spiritual technology that works in 2025, just as well as it did in 1968. Now, if you're thinking about doing this, let me give you some final practical instructions. First, where to buy the medals. You can buy them in Catholic stores, online, or order them from churches. Just make sure they are legitimate St. Benedict medals with the cross on one side and the inscription, "May the Holy Cross be my light, may the dragon never be my overlord" on the other. They don't need to be big medals. They can be small. The size doesn't matter. What matters is the blessing and your obedience to the ritual. If you buy them online and they don't arrive in time for October 25th, that's okay. Use the alternative ritual that I taught you, blessing over the Bible. Psalm 91, 3 times. Hang them on any day. Second, how to hang them. You can use a small nail, tape, or even glue. The method, it doesn't matter. What matters is that they are secure and visible. Don't hide the medals behind the door. Hang them in front where whoever enters will see them. Hidden medals, they have less power because spiritual protection, it works best when it's declared openly. Third, what to do if someone removes the medals. If you live with people who don't believe and they take them down, don't argue. Calmly explain their importance. If they still take them down, hang them again when they aren't looking, or hang them inside the door frame, where they aren't visible but they are still technically on the door. Fourth, what to do if you live in a rental and the landlord doesn't allow nails in the doors. Use heavy-duty tape or hang them on the door frame with removable glue. The important thing is that the medal is on the door or above it. Padre Pio, he didn't specify the method of attachment. He only specified the location. Fifth, what to do if your house has more than 7 doors. Hang the first 7 on the most important doors, the main entrance, bedroom doors, bathroom, kitchen. Then, when possible, buy more medals and complete the rest. But the 7 essential ones, they already guarantee significant protection. Sixth, what to do if you live in an apartment. It works the same way. Hang them on the entrance door to the apartment and on the internal doors. The fact that you have close neighbors, it doesn't diminish the protection. In fact, it can increase the need, because in buildings, spiritual energy circulates more between units. And finally, the question that everyone asks, how long does the protection last? Padre Pio said, 365 days, 1 year. After that, you need to renew it. You don't need to buy new medals. The same medal, they continue to work. But at midnight on October 25th of the following year, you pray the Lord's Prayer again at each door, renew the declaration of protection, and you are protected for another year. If you forget to renew, the protection doesn't disappear immediately. It weakens gradually. Like a cell phone battery, in the first months after the renewal date, there is still some residual protection, but the more time passes, the weaker it gets. That's why Padre Pio always said, mark it on the calendar, every year, October 25th, midnight, renew them. Now, before we wrap up, I need to ask something of you. If this video has helped you, if you're planning to do the ritual, or if you've already done it and it worked, please leave a comment, share your story. Why? Because testimonies build faith. When a skeptic reads dozens of comments from people saying, I did it and it worked, that person will be emboldened to try it too. This isn't about me, it's about spreading protection. Each person shielded is a victory against the darkness. Each home fortified is a territory reclaimed from the enemy. Padre Pio didn't keep this knowledge to himself. He taught it, and you should do the same. Teach others. Share this video. Save spiritual lives. And if you really want to support this work of spreading the word, consider leaving us super thanks. It's not required, but it helps me continue producing content that the institutional church is afraid to teach. Content that can save families. Every contribution, no matter how small, makes a difference. You have 24 hours. The clock is ticking. 7 St. Benedict medals. Midnight, October 25th. Don't overthink it. Don't procrastinate. Don't doubt. Just obey. Padre Pio knew what he was doing. 39 families obeyed and lived. 8 doubted and suffered. The choice is yours, and if you're watching this after October 25th, don't use that as an excuse to do nothing. Use the alternative ritual. Psalm 91, 3 times. St. Benedict medals over the Bible. Hang them today. 70% protection is infinitely better than 0. Spiritual shield isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. You lock your front door, you put an alarm on your car, you buy life insurance. Why not protect yourself spiritually? The spiritual world is more real than the physical one, and more dangerous. Padre Pio saw this. He fought this. He conquered this. And he left the instructions so that you can also conquer. Don't waste this gift. Don't be the 9th family that ignored the warning. Be the 40th that obeyed. 7 St. Benedict medals, midnight, October 25th. Your family will thank you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But when the attack comes and doesn't penetrate, when the tragedy passes by but doesn't touch your home, when evil is sent but returns to the sender, you'll remember this video and you'll be grateful that you obeyed. Padre Pio of Pietrelcina. Protect everyone who has watched this far. Give them the wisdom to obey, the courage to act, and the faith to trust. Amen.